welcome to this week's episode of the Language of Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Chuck Marting, and today we're going to talk about a communication skill. A lot of times we end up not listening in the way that we think we do. We forget about our eyes and what they communicate to us when we're talking to someone or we're taking in their communication style as they speak to us. And sometimes we don't fully listen with our ears as well. Active listening skills are imperative with what we're doing on a daily basis as a leader and when we're dealing with our teams. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I was thinking, have you ever had a text message ruin your entire day, only to find out later that none of it was true, that you misinterpreted what the sender sent you, or what you sent to the sender was misinterpreted by them? In the world we lead today, communication hasn't disappeared. It's just gone silent. We're sending more messages than at any other point in human history, but understanding each other a lot less. Teams are trying to build trust through screens, influence through emojis, and solve human problems. And doing that without any human presence. But there's a truth that every great leader eventually learns. If you're only listening with your ears, you're missing most of the conversation. So that's what we're talking about. One of the most overlooked and misunderstood leadership skills, listening with your eyes as well as your ears. This one skill can change the way that you lead and the way that you communicate and the way your people respond to you. So let's get into it. Why leaders miss this real message? That's the question. Most people think that communication is what someone says. But as research has shown, 93% of communication effectiveness comes from nonverbal signals. In another study, it breaks it down even further than that. It says that 7% is verbal, 38% is our tone of voice, 55% are facial expressions and body language. So when we rely on only the spoken word, especially through a text message or even email, we lose access to the majority of that message. And here's what that means for us as leaders. If you're leading based only on what you hear, you are leading blind. Words may tell you what someone wants you to believe, but their eyes, their posture, their facial expressions, they tell you what's true. So we need to listen with our eyes. And when people talk, they don't just communicate with their words. They communicate with their whole body, their voice, their eyes, their hands, their gestures, their posture, how they stand, how they move. So let's break it down to the three most important nonverbal signals that leaders should pay attention to. The first one we're going to talk about is distance. You need to notice when someone takes a step back, or they lean in, or they shift their body away from you. Distance communicates comfort or discomfort because of the words that they're speaking may never communicate that to you. And we have to remember that there's culture that gets involved in this as well. In the West, casual conversation, typically, it happens about a half a meter apart. In some Eastern cultures, standing 20 centimeters apart is normal. So if we don't understand that, we can very easily misinterpret the behavior that has nothing to do with us. The second thing that we really need to look at is gestures, hand movements, pacing, head nods. This all communicates emotion. But before you decide what a gesture means, you as a leader need to know the person, know their context, and never assume their first interpretation is correct. If you're unsure what gesture communication is meaning, then ask them. or stop using that gesture yourself if it sends the wrong message. The third thing that we're looking at is facial expression. Now, your face speaks before your mouth does. Some people talk with their eyes closed, others carry a permanent grin. They aren't even aware of it, but they just do it. Under stress, facial muscles will tighten and people feel it. So the leadership question is this: do you know what your face is saying when you're not talking? Because your team does. So why does digital communication fail us so much? We are the most connected and the most misunderstood generation of leaders. We text instead of talk. We email instead of meet. We assume instead of clarify. And here's what happens. Messages get misread. Relationships get damaged. Not because the communication was wrong, but because the communication was incomplete. There is still power in conversation, guys. There is still meaning in human presence. Face-to-face contact prevents confusion before it even starts. So the skill that great leaders need to master in this communication is something that great communicators do, something that most leaders never think about. They listen to what people can't say. They watch the whole person. They walk, they posture, they approach, and yes, how someone walks away, you can often guess their mood just by observing their movement. Now, and this is a key, you have to look at the entire person, not just one feature. Because judgment without understanding is not leadership, it is assumption. So, as a practical leadership tool, you can use this just this week, all right? When in doubt, choose the conversation over text. If emotion, conflict, or even misunderstanding is possible, do not type it. Pick up the phone. Better yet, look them in the eye. Use this clarifying phrase. Here's what I heard. Was that what you meant? This one sentence has saved more relationships, teams, and careers than most policies ever will. You have to lead by example. People watch your tone, your expression, your reaction, and your presence. They will mirror the communication habits they see, whether they're good or bad. So leadership is not just about what we communicate, but how we are communicating it. Now, we talked about a lot of different things in this episode, but leadership isn't about having the right words. It's about understanding the right meaning. Anyone can hear what someone says. Leaders listen for what they can't say. When we lead through screens, we lose the signals that build trust, connection, and clarity. But when we step back into real conversations, eye to eye, that presence to presence, we give people what every human being is craving: to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. So this week, don't just listen with your ears. Slow down, lift your eyes, and remember, the greatest communication breakthroughs that your team needs may already be happening right in front of you. And it isn't making a sound. It's about listening and communicating in an effective and powerful way. So until next time, lead hard, lead strong, and lead with intention. Take care.